Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today I have got two battles for you in my Richelieu, and these two battles are about positioning. The Richelieu is a very, very good ship, and definitely one of my favorites around Tier 8. I just love that boat. In the first one we are playing Epicenter in Cage against Marco Polo, Izumo, Bismarck, Neptune, the Seven Provincien and a Kitakaze. So it's a 6v6, but it is Epicenter. And Epicenter in a battleship can be a bit of a challenge. The Richelieu is probably one of the better ships that you can have in this kind of scenarios, because the Richelieu is very, very capable of island camping and making itself useful from very, very defensible positions, especially in a map like Cage, which is having some good island cover in the center. And the middle ring has one of these positions that I'm going to immediately be heading towards. And that position has the advantage you can either be on the left and park your ship completely behind the island and then just poke your nose out and shoot. That means that way you can cover the left flank, or you can park yourself at the right side of the island, which means you're exposed to the right flank, but you're very, very you have a very powerful central position that you can dominate by being bow in towards pretty much everything else. So that's where I'm heading. Not because I necessarily prefer it, but because I am spawning on the right side of the team, which means the left side of the island, I'll leave that for ships like the Wichita, which is going to have the exact same positioning requirements that I do. So this ledge here, this is where I want to be, and that's a bot cargo. It's probably not worth shooting at, but I'm spotted anyway, so I may as well. This gets my team less distracted. No, never mind. There's a Bismarck. So I'm just going to park next to the island and start taking things under fire from over here. Because this is against all but the right flank, a very powerful position. Now I do have to keep a little bit of an eye on what's coming down the right flank, but so far it was just an Izumo, and there's a Benson. That's a bot Benson, so he's going to die anyway. But we can start unloading at the Izumo, who is broadsiding, which is quite unnecessary in an Izumo. Because that just means that you're giving me more things to shoot at. There's also the Neptune, but it looks like we are holding the center cup thanks to the bot Benson. So what I'm going to do is try and, well, basically not prevent the enemy team from going in. And the Neptune, obviously, on the enemy team side is somewhat predestined for doing that. I don't know where the enemy destroyers are. Oh no, there's the Kitakaze, which is now also making its way around. But Neptune isn't going to go into the center ring, so far the center is stable, and I'm just going to try and keep the enemy team out of the center ring. Neptune, obviously with a smoke, is a good target for me, and a fully broadsiding Neptune is always very tempting, because you can hurt them quite a lot. But it looks like the Bismarck is making his way reasonably slowly into the center cup. The team calls out the Marco Polo to be taken under fire, but look at the positioning on my team. We have a strong positioning here to dominate the middle. The right flank has collapsed, and nobody from the enemy team is really making anything happen. The Bismarck isn't pushing center. The Shapayev is now starting to take the Bismarck under fire. Yeah, he's not going in aggressively, and there is, I think that was the Kitakaze. Yeah, Kitakaze is now coming in, so I'm switching to high explosive. Atlantico has made its way over here in time, so while these are Neptune torpedoes, that's what I mean with you have a very strong island position here. But the Kitakaze seems to be not interested in taking the center cup, but rather is trying to get away from there after dumping his torpedoes. So I'm going back to the armor piercing. Atlantico can tank for a little bit in the center, has avoided not all of them, but most of the Kitakaze torpedoes. And he can deal with the bot cargo. Meanwhile, the Izumo is still sailing around somewhere in the rear, and the Bismarck still can't make up his mind if he wants to come in or not. And that's sort of really where the enemy team has been losing points rapidly over the course of this battle, because we have been holding both the center ring and the middle ring. We are starting to see some casualties now. There's the Seven Provincian. That thing is vicious with his airstrikes. So I'm going to dissuade him from coming any closer. And I'm going to now take on the middle position to support the Atlantico on our side. And it looks like the rest of the team is following suit. Because now that we've sort of eliminated the threat on the flanks there and the enemy team is all bottled in, there's the Marco Polo on my left, but that's something I can deal with. Yep, there comes some fire in, there comes the DZP airstrike, obviously triple fire. Izumo still sailing around broadside on, but he has mistimed the second strike a little bit, and my damage control was still off cooldown. And I can now go bow in towards the flanking threat, and yes, it does hurt, but I can sustain that for a bit. And at the same time, I'm shielded by the island towards that Bismarck and the Kitakaze on the other side. So all I have to do is keep the island between myself and the Kitakaze to avoid any kind of torpedo threat. And the Marco Polo and the Izumo are sailing around the outer ring, but my team is completely concentrated around the center ring. And this is really how you play these kind of maps, by dominating the center, but by controlling the flanks. And that's where the positioning comes in here, because you need to, while we're finishing off the Izumo, Wichita gets it. Kitakaze and DZP are now starting to take me under fire and trying to set permafires, which is a good thing to do. The problem is obviously they can't push in because they have no way of actually controlling anything. And there come the torpedoes, and again that's why I'm positioned behind this island, because, well, yep, Kitakaze, sorry, not happening. And we still have I think it was a Marco Polo on my rear, but one of our cruisers has peeled off and seems to be kiting away from it or taking it on. And that means the enemy team is two kills down, but at the same time also is having less of a points income. So they really have no chance of making this happen. Kitakaze is out of torpedoes because he just fired. He might have the reload ready, so that's why I'm engine boosting across. So any torpedo he's fired are probably going to be misaligned. But yeah, it's really the positioning and the concentration of fire and making sure that you are in positions where you can correctly dominate the battle space. You can't ignore the flanks on these maps because it can get really, really dangerous around the flanks. And now we'll see if he knows how to time a engine boosted Richelieu. He does. It's not too hard, but it doesn't help him because we have already won on points, and that's that. So minding your positioning and hoping, well, if the rest of your team plays along, can be, even in a battleship, can be really well done in an epicenter map. I mean, we did have a division on our side, so that's obviously helping. But what if you have cruisers on your team, but they don't cruiser? And you need to do that yourself. Well, you have seen parts of this upcoming game already in a short, but this is the full version. And again, it's epicenter, this time on the chain map. We're facing Brandenburg, Black Kansas, Amagi, Baltimore, Shimanto, one of the new Japanese light cruisers, and Double Fletcher. Now, Double Fletcher versus Z44 and Kitakaze is too much of a fair fight, I would almost say. However, we do have a Chapayev and a Sejong on our team. The Sejong is not really a cruiser, more of a scout cruiser / oversized destroyer. So I'm going to be doing the exact same play. And again, in the Richelieu, you can hug some islands like that one straight ahead of me there, which gives you complete protection against the whole left side of the map, and from my perspective, to your whole left side, and allows you to go defensive against the right side as well, if need be, simply by turning the ship around and backing off behind it. So these are very, very strong positions. Plus, that island has a nice little ledge next to it, if you can see it there. That ledge will block torpedoes, while at the same time allowing me to fire over it with my forward turrets. So I can be pretty safe from torpedoes coming in from the center. So if the Fletchers are going for the center cup, as they should, and while at the same time allowing me to fire over it and take things under fire. Our destroyers are not so much interested in the center cup by the looks of it. The Chapayev thinks about inching in there, but the Sejong seems to be making his way around as well. And so far we have spotted the Amagi. I am spotted, so there's definitely one of the destroyers around there somewhere. But we'll start out by taking things under fire. And I am where I want to be positionally. Now what's interesting is that nobody's taken the center cup. There's one of the Fletchers. He's going full in against all of the cruisers and the Z-44. So good luck with that. Amagi has beached broadside on over there and is engaging me in a long-range gun duel, but is not having an awful lot of luck. The Amagi is not the most precise thing. Now do notice that suspicious smokescreen on my right there. You see that? That's a Fletcher. How do I know that? Well, this is the only thing on the enemy team that has smoke screens. And the other Fletcher's over there. Yeah, there come the Fletcher torpedoes. There comes the Baltimore. So our right flank is being threatened. And I'm obviously now turning into the torpedoes to make sure that I'm only taking 2 of them. And it still allows me to take the Baltimore under fire. But we have a Chapayev here. Team, right flank, would you mind? You're all clustered a little bit. One of our Fletchers, or one of our destroyers, we didn't have a Fletcher. One of our destroyers is holding the center cup, but that Baltimore is outflanking. So I'm trying to take the Baltimore under fire. Chapayev is not interested at all in dealing with the Fletcher on our flank here, and might be surprised by some torpedoes coming in. Chapayev, there is a Fletcher somewhere around there. He is coming under a relatively heavy fire now. Baltimore is buggering off. Okay, you know what? Cruiser mode engage. I'll do it myself. Sod it. If the team can't be bothered, I'll do it myself. Oh, he's actually working his way around here. So there are a couple of things I know about this Fletcher. First of all, he's been sailing the long way around to try to get into a flanking position on an epicenter map, which is not the right choice of thing to do. I'm obviously now switching to the high explosive, but there are going to be torpedoes in the water. So again, I need to put my nose towards the incoming threat. A destroyer that is not trying to control the capture circles, yeah, and there come the torpedoes, is not as much of a threat. Also, the second thing to note is that this was a single spread of torpedoes. So the Fletcher does not have a full contingent of torpedoes ready. The biggest threat, really, the Fletcher is to me, is if he was going to rush me. There comes the second set. But he is firing his torpedoes in waves and not in one big spread. So he would have to wait quite a little bit longer to have both torpedo launches ready. As long as he fires the spreads in single drops, there's very little of a risk of him actually rushing me. And yeah, there he is. And he might have thought that he could outrun and stealth torpedo the Richelieu. What he probably hasn't banked on how fast these French battleships are. So he's smoking up again. There comes, again, single spread of torpedoes. I'm going to take a couple. It's not a huge issue. I can sustain a couple of torpedo hits. The bigger threat would be if he was going to come in rushing, smoking up, and then dropping his full contingent on torpedoes onto me. But that's kind of where you can determine from how an enemy player is behaving so far in the battle. There's relatively little risk of that. Now there might be another spread of torpedoes coming in. There it comes, but it's a single spread. I'm bow in. I'm going to make 1 or 2, and I've got just 1. I've got my damage control. Got my damage control ready in case of flood. He's not using his guns, despite being spotted. So yeah, that is a very, very dead Fletcher. You see, it would have been a lot more helpful because half of my team is bimbling about the southern end of the map now. He would have been a lot more helpful in the center and contesting the center cup. But he's burning to death now. There might be another torpedo spread incoming. But there it comes. So I'm going to try and skirt the sides of it and then help out my team with... okay, we took 1, that's fine. And then I'll just help out my team with the remaining 2 cruisers, which have made a valiant effort over there, but it's not going to be enough. And now I'm in a position to actually do something about them, because now they are... they have no way of going defensive against me. So yeah, sometimes when you're in a battleship, you have to play cruiser because your cruisers have better things to do. But if it keeps a dangerous destroyer outside of the capture circles in epicenter mode, and yeah, the Shimanto has just stopped, so that's gonna just overpenetrate the bow, then becoming a cruiser in a battleship is not a bad thing to do. And Baltimore's down, which leaves the Shimanto as the only remaining ship. There is a torpedo threat, but I think the Shimanto's got better things to do. Is he going? Which way is he going? This way, I think. So let's sink a couple more shots into that thing and do a bit more damage. Took out one of his torpedo tubes. Yeah, he's got no... It's too late to take the center cap at this point, and the team's lost. But yeah, as you can see, sometimes it's not so much about where you are, but where the enemy team isn't, and where you can keep the enemy team from being. So being a cruiser in a battleship, playing cruiser is not always a terrible choice. Now, I didn't have a battle results screen because my recordings crashed at this point, but as you can see, we pretty decisively won this game. And that's it for me today. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.